So the anticipated partner trial is really big news, and I know Peter Block, who's joining me now, just had a chance to interview Craig Smith, and you really talked about the science of the partner, but there was also a partner trial that looked at the economic impact. Tell me a little bit about that.
You know, the science is fascinating, but ultimately we need to figure out whether or not the cost of this is going to be worth it. The device itself costs around $30,000. That's a ton of money at the front end. And obviously the question going forward is, for elderly patients with aortic stenosis, is this a reasonable thing for CMS to reimburse?
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's all about, if it isn't about the money, it's about the money.
Right.
And so this was a look at the Partner 1B group, which are the non-surgical patients, right, that could not be operated. These were presented at TCT in September, and it was against medical therapy. So the question is medical therapy more expensive for these patients, or is TAVI, transcatheter valve insertion, more expensive? And the bottom line is, when you look at the cost of the hospitalization plus the cost of follow-up for the patients that got the valve, it's give or take somewhere in the range of $78,000 for about a year. Now,
for about a year
for a follow-up.
Okay.
So for the patients that had no TAVI but just had medical therapy, those patients obviously have no cost or very little cost at the front end, but because they come back with congestive heart failure repetitively, their cost for hospitalization rises incrementally. The patients that have TAVI don't come back. They're better.
Right.
And so their cost is somewhere in the range of $30,000, $35,000, $40,000. Now, the other interesting thing is, if you look at the life expectancy, then the patients that have TAVI live longer. So by the time we're all done, you do all these fancy calculations. The cost of 1 year of life having this valve insertion, when you feel better and can get back to a useful existence, is somewhere around $50,000. Now, the philosophy obviously is, what is the cost of 1 year of useful life in general worth? And I'm not going to go there. That's a spiritual thing. But I think $50,000 is well within the limits of what most other medical technologies have felt is appropriate, ICDs and so forth. So for $50,000 for a year of good life, that's what it costs. You can make your own choice as to whether it's worth it.
Do you think that's going to impact our, the way that the practices go, because reimbursement will be favorable, let's say?
Well, I don't know if reimbursement is going to be favorable or not, but if the FDA and CMS agree that this is worth it, then probably yes.
And how about with the Partner A trial or the Partner B trial that came out? I mean, the one that was presented today, are they going to do an economic
They're going to do an economic analysis on that. That will be very different because they're very different patients and their treatments are very different. We'll see how that all comes out, but we will see that.
Super. Peter, thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Interesting news. So stay tuned.